think the Ewoks are fucking dumb. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this, but I feel like it has to be said. They're stupid. Now, apparently in the first iterations of the script, the battle was supposed to take place outside of Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk? I don't know how it's pronounced. And it would be the Wookiees that would aid the rebels against the Imperial forces. But George wanted the allies to be primitive and thought he couldn't really sell the idea after the audience had already seen Chewie fly and use blasters and shit like that. So then he created the Ewoks. At least that's the excuse that I read. Let me know in the comments if you heard something different, because I'm not personally convinced by that excuse. If that's the real reason, that's fucking dumb. The interaction with the Ewoks slows the movie down to a crawl. Everything with them is just so weird and boring. Threepio says it's against his programming to pretend to be a deity as an excuse for why he can't tell the Ewoks to let Han and Luke and Chewie go. But then in the next scene, he's sitting on a fucking throne pretending to be a deity. What the hell why are you guys even here? Don't you guys have something more important to do than fuck around with these teddy bears? Also, watching the Ewoks in the final battle just infuriates me. They're like bonking the stormtroopers on the head with sticks, and we're supposed to believe that they're actually hurting them. Every time I see this stuff, I just think of that movie Three Ninjas, and how that movie contrived so many situations to make Tum Tum, basically a toddler, a formidable fighter against grown-ass men. And this is the most egregious utilization of Tum Tum buffoonery I've seen in all my days. Kind of silly that they just rebuilt the Death Star, and even more ridiculous that they just built it with a similar weak point that seems way easier to get to. Like, they don't need to even shoot a torpedo with a perfect shot using the Force at a tiny hole like the first one. Like, they just flew into a big ass room and blew that bitch up. It just really cheapens the idea of the Death Star as a formidable threat. Instead of feeling like a legit force of nature, it feels like a monster of the weak villain. I admit the design of the half-built Death Star is pretty rad, and the reveal that the Death Star is actually operational is cool as shit. It's very effective. I'm just saying they didn't have to bring it back. It would have probably been just as cool if Luke, Vader, and the Emperor were all on Vader's ridiculously huge battleship. This feels like the first time the Star Wars franchise was trying to be self-referential and fan-service-y. Star Wars became too aware of itself. This is the moment when Star Wars started going, hey, you remember this? You liked that, right? Well, it's back. People fell in love with Star Wars because it was new and interesting and exciting. Rehashing old ideas that people liked about the older movies isn't any of those things. I do still like this movie a lot, but that's mostly because this shit is in my blood.
I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
And I find a way to enjoy every Star Wars movie.